So I'd like to tell you a story. Let me bring you back in time. It was February 2003, and I am sitting by myself in this van in the empty parking lot of a state park. Everybody at work thought I was out trying to sell something, and my wife thought I was at work, but I was by myself in this van, miserable, all day long, way too much of the time in tears. Now, I had no excuse for that. If you looked at my life, you'd have thought I was doing great. I sitting in a brand new van that I just paid cash for, living in a house that I and my wife had just got done building. I was a partner in a small but an okay business. I had 3 kids between the ages of 2 and 12, wonderful, healthy, and I was married to a drop dead, gorgeous blonde who I'd been in love with for the last 20 years already. And there I was, absolutely miserable. So the day went on, the end of the day came, and my wife didn't come home. My wife made some calls, and I finally answered my cell phone and went home and tried to make things be as normal as they could. And that evening, everybody else went to bed, and I sat in the living room in the dark. And I don't really remember how long I'd sat there, but eventually I said, you know what? My wife deserves a much better husband than this. And my children, they not only deserve a better father than this, but they deserve a better example of how to live than this. My partners deserved a better partner than this. My employees deserved a better business than this. They deserved better jobs than they had and a better employer than I was being. So I decided I needed to figure out what made the difference between an awesome life and an awful life, what made the difference between surviving and thriving. And that became my passion. And now it's 18 years later, and I can tell you that you take the sum of my total life. I tell people all the time, I don't believe there's a single person alive in the world that has had a better life than me. Life is an adventure, and it should be, and it can be. And yeah, I've tried a lot of things and stubbed my toes, but I've met some fantastic people, and this journey has been so incredible. And not just for me, the business has had the same thing. It's just taken off, and it's been changed so much, and it is so much better. So that's why I'm doing this. I want to help other people go from surviving to thriving. I want to help other businesses go from surviving to thriving. And I'm far from perfect, and I don't have it all figured out, but I've got a few things figured out, and I've learned a lot from a lot of other people. I know people are going to hear this and sometimes think it can't work, or it can't work for them, or whatever it may be, but it can. And you're being told that by this little voice that brings up every failure you've had and every time you've misstepped, and they're assuring you you're going to have more failures and more disappointments in the future. And you will, because that's part of life. But that voice, it has a name. It's called the critic. And Teddy Roosevelt had the answer for the critic. In Paris, France in 1910, he gave a speech, and part of that speech is called The Man in the Arena. And he said, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly and errs and comes short again and again, for there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But the man who actually strives to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms and the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, and who, in the end, if he succeeds, knows the triumph of high achievement. But if he fails, he at least fails while daring greatly, and his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Don't listen to the critic. You can have a fantastic adventure. And that's what everything about Arena Success Group is built for people and companies and the people who work at companies. Their life should be an eternally fulfilling adventure.